Hello, welcome to Homeopathic Services. My name is Pierre Fontaine. I've been a professional homeopath for nearly 30 years. During that entire time, I dedicated my professional career to the treatment of autism. So I go back to the 90s and treating autism. Now, of course, in the 90s, the success rate was not nearly what it is now. But let's put that aside for now. And let me say this. My third book, The Language of Autism, this will tell you for the first time, I believe, what autism actually is in 2 words. Not what you think causes it, not what you think it may be, but what it actually is. Specifically, what within 2 words explain, 2 words can explain in details 150 symptoms. In other words, there's about 150 symptoms that comprises all of autism. That goes from severe constipation to not being able to speak, to not being able to potty train, not being able to hold a pen, not being able, all of it, all the so-called behaviors, every single one of them. I think there's about 150 symptoms of autism. Each one of them can be explained, well, about 80% of them can be explained through 2 words that I will mention later on. I've mentioned it many times on Facebook, but Facebook seems to be deleting videos these days. I don't know. I don't use Facebook. I use Facebook only for this. I will transfer all the videos on YouTube as well. I'm going to see how I can do that. This week, the second book, One Heart, One Mind. This was the professional version, if you will, of how to take a case of homeopathically of a child who cannot speak. Homeopathy, the homeopathic consultation relies on speech, on description of how it feels, if you will. The central question is, how does this feel? For a child on the spectrum who has no speech, and believe me, all kids that I see are severely on the spectrum, but I can assert today, and I've been asserting this for some time now, that all kids on the spectrum can be recovered and diagnosed off the spectrum. I'm not the one who's going to say this, it will be the doctor. Where you can find me, homeopathicservices.com. That's where you can find me, homeopathicservices.com. That being done, what do I assert? I assert all kids on the spectrum can be diagnosed off the spectrum. It requires several things. It requires knowing what autism actually is. What are these 150 symptoms that no one has been able to make sense of? Right? Why does a kid poop in the closet? How come a 7-year-old kid can still not use the toilet? How come a child rolls cars back and forth and looks at them like this, or looks at the edge of a table? How come this? How come the tantrums? How come eating one food? This can be explained through, in my view, 2 words. I give a definition of autism. The definition of autism to me is conceptual inability. The concept of socializing. Even the concept of eating. If you don't have concept of eating, Why eat more than one food? It's completely ridiculous. If we don't have the concept of playing with toys, there's no point of playing with toys. Toys don't exist. If there's no concept of socialization, you see, I see everything as concept. Everything is a concept. Everything that surrounds us is really a concept. I keep my yard clean. That's really a large concept. It's a concept of within my community. If I don't understand that community, then I'm not going to do the yard. It's irrelevant. You see? It's very, 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 in the end, it is all very simple. This mountain of symptomatology, largely illogical, makes total sense through these two words. How does this help? It helps me unburden myself as a homeopath. I don't have to look here and there. For example, yesterday, I'm not sure how many of you are familiar with homeopathy, but let's take an example. My case yesterday, new case yesterday. About 30 remedies were given. So sometimes homeopaths go back, like I advocated in this book. I introduced that concept. We're going back to pregnancy. What was the state of the mother during pregnancy? Okay, so here's the state of the mother in yesterday's case, where the remedy natrium sulfuricum was given. Why natrium ureatic sulfuricum? Natrium sulfuricum. Natrium has the feeling of being alone. The mother very much felt alone during pregnancy. She did not only feel alone, she felt unloved. So the alone is as a natrium. Natrium, when the case where someone feels alone, natrium, the element, first element on the left in the table of elements, and the fourth one down, no, the third one down. It's the first element on the left, third row down. Alone, has the feeling of being alone. And unloved, could be alone, but loved. She felt completely in love. Sulfur, natrium sulfuricum. That's what the homeopath gave, because that is the way the mother felt during pregnancy. Sometimes that can, it's fairly simple prescription, yeah? But it's for matters of explanation here to you who probably you know remedies, maybe belladonna or something like this for fever and red face, although a lot of people give belladonna for fever and there's no red face. If you give belladonna, no red face, it's not going to do anything to the fever. The symptoms have to match. So I give this very simple example. The mother felt alone and unloved. Natrium sulfuricum, fair enough. Let's make it easy. Yeah? Very, very, very elementary. The remedy didn't do anything. Yeah, because sometimes the remedy, the pregnancy remedy, the state during pregnancy will be the state of the child, even though the child has autism. And the child can improve very much. I have about 40 cases in my second book with that. And there were many more. But what do we do when that does not work? In other words, what do we do when the mother has told us, verbal, the mother has told us some information, but that information does not translate in the healing of the child? Well, that's when we need to treat autism itself. You see, in the world of autism, there's essentially one elephant in the room. That is biomed. Biomed assumes that the gut is destroyed, and that by restoring that to a large degree. There are other things also, the B12, the oxygen, and so on and so forth. So they give supplements in order to possibly treat autism. Now, this is a step removed from autism. You're treating what you think, what in theory you think is causing autism. And that's why a lot of children make some improvement. Once in a blue moon, a child blooms and, let's say, throws these, and the autism goes away. But for the largest part, for the overwhelming part, with a diet and supplement, children do not overcome autism. That's when we need to treat autism itself. What is the state of the child himself? Now you may say, well, how am I going to explain this to you? I don't know my child. I don't know what my child is thinking. I don't know what's inside him. That's when the beauty of homeopathy comes in. Because as you can see behind me now, there are 300, and I'm going to get another 100 remedies or so made. These, I didn't get those made, colleagues. But there's another 100 that are nearly specific to autism. Nearly specific to autism. So we can almost say that the success rate has improved by about 300 with these new remedies compared to what I was doing before. These are not available in the US, by the way. And each one represent a specific state of autism. And so now it is much, much easier to find, through questions of mine, to find what the child is like. For example, going back to yesterday's case where about 30 remedies were given, all told, okay, including the natrium sulfuricum one. Going back to that case, we see a child who's deep on the spectrum. He's 11 and a half. He's very deep on the spectrum. He hardly says anything. Over the years, the parents have been able to teach him through what I call contextually. They've been able to contextually, by showing cards, apple, lion, tiger, elephant, rose, pigeon. He's been able to, he can answer. Show him a card, he'll answer what it is. Show him 4 cards. Out of 4, he'll remember 3 for sure, sometimes 4. And now, and if he says each one, then if he sees each one, he can answer all 4. But if you show 4 and remove them and say, now, what did you see? He can usually remember 2 or 3. I thought it was a novel idea to get the child to think. But that's not where I am. I want to restore concept. That is, he's going to know birds, and not only birds, but that a bird flies and all. You see, he doesn't have concept of that. So, he's deep on the spectrum, but what has he done his entire life? This is not a kid who his entire life from the beginning stayed, when I talk about the beginning, I mean about 1 year old, okay? Because that's when things shift. But even then, there can be symptoms that go back that were not paid attention to because we never think of them as symptoms. but we can go back and see that this child actually breastfed all the time. He didn't breastfeed all the time. He wanted to be in the arms. And then when the mother started to wean him off, he switched to the father, so he was in father's lap all the time. So we see a child very deep on the spectrum. His eyes are, he has no eye contact. He's 11 and a half. He has no eye contact. He's really in his own world. But somehow there was this connection, even though the connection was like, as many parents say, I'm just an object. I'm an object. He can, in this case, rest in my lap all the time. I mean, all the time. So constantly glued to someone with no concern whether that person has to get up and go to the bathroom or even eat. It's just like, no, you need to stay there, otherwise the child has a tantrum. So we can see that there was some type of attachment. It's not a child who was in the corner. See, these make a difference. Now, it's not a child who can really learn. Only contextually he's learned some words by showing a card. So he's really absolutely in his own world. That is specific remedy. That is, the child is somehow close, too close, one could say, but at the same time, in his own world. Not alone and in his own world. Another remedy, another one of those. You see? And every single aspect of the child, from what you have observed, and through my questions, we can arrive at a very deep analysis that will give rise to a specific remedy. It is absolutely beautiful. There's 300 different ones here, and plus these are just the new ones. But for the last 29 some odd years, I have recovered children, so we are able to use other not as well in order to further promote the healing and be off the spectrum, and not directly treating autism, not treating what we think causes autism, the yeast, and all the other things that are talked about. Those are ideas. Sometimes they help. They may help if you remove the wheat, for example. The child may become calmer, but still on the spectrum. In fact, that kid was howling. You could see the reason why these 30 remedies were given. Not all, because some of them were a bit far-fetched and based on biomed theories. Because some remedies, they gave, for example, a remedy called polymetal. That is a remedy with a lot of metals in them, heavy metals. And it's supposed to detox the body of these metals. There's nothing more ridiculous than this, frankly. Nothing will come out of such a thing. Or polyvaccine. A remedy is made with many different vaccines, and somehow it's supposed to clear the vaccine. When anybody is telling you we're going to clear vaccine, we're going to clear heavy metals, we're going to clear the damage done by the yeast or the damage done by the vaccine have an effect. They may even cause autism, most likely. That with other thing in conjunction. But as I described in my third book, there are precursors to autism. There's a reason why not all kids who are vaccinated develop autism. They are precursors. That there is no doubt about. Nothing can happen when we're in an empty bucket. There has to be something there. That is unseen. I agree. That is unseen. You don't know. You can't know. You parents. You can't know. But there are precursors for sure. That is never talked about. And to a large extent, now they're not as relevant in my practice. They're just there. But what I'm interested is not treating the past that can only give partial results. I'm interested in treating the present. I'm interested in treating autism itself. And that's why people don't understand. People have a difficult time. How can you do that? Because I don't know my child. Just the few examples I gave you indicate that it is possible. You see? It is possible. Without a doubt, it can be done systematically. Well, it's I got carried away. I see there's already 21 minutes. I don't like to make the videos long because we don't have time to listen to all of this. I try to keep them short. Um, let's treat the present. Let's treat autism itself, not the yeast, this, that. Once we start to address the present, autism itself, where concept will return. And so the child can get dressed and will understand to take a shower before getting dressed, and before getting dressed, going to the bathroom, and going to the bathroom when he needs to, and not run all over all around the room and do in his pants, you know. This is disastrous. We can return concept, treat autism itself, and not ideas of what causes autism. That's all great. If we can get rid of those, apparently Kennedy is doing that quite a bit. He's certainly moving, so making a few people uncomfortable. That's about time. But let's treat what we can do. What we can do now is specifically treat the present, treat the autism, so concept returns and your child can be diagnosed not only on the spectrum, but off the spectrum. That is a guarantee to you. Thank you so very much for listening. My name is Pierre Fontaine. You can find me at homeopathicservices.com. And I'm sorry I let 3 weeks, I think, without a clip. I just found out all the videos are gone. I try as much as possible to do a video each and every week, generally on Sunday. Missed a couple of Sundays, few family events taking over. Thank you so very much. I'll see you on Sunday. Take care.